Alright, so to start, this is just a quick interior camera view of just driving with the thermal camera on. As you can see, it's pretty large next to the Tesla cam and rearview mirror. And you can see that the camera doesn't really pick up too much. It looks just like a white screen. The thermal camera has a bit of a smoothing effect to it. Thermal mode. Hi Max.
I'm here.
Thermal mode.
Thermal mode.
So I kind of struggled with getting it to switch from fusion mode to thermal mode, but it did do that. And we're going to flip to the next scene coming up here. And the scene is basically just from this point of the drive. So here we are in fusion mode. I don't really recommend fusion mode from my experience. I don't really find it's that valuable. It adds a bunch of detail to the road and the scenery, but in terms of like looking for wildlife or people, it doesn't really do anything. For thermal mode, I like white hot. It's what I had on my NV2. It's what works for me. I'm already like used to it, and this works really well. You can see there's a pedestrian crossing the street there that it picked up pretty far away, and they're about to get onto the sidewalk kind of thing, and we go through the intersection. Next, we'll show a visual from the dash cam of the same clip. And what you can see is with the thermal camera, we'd already be seeing the pedestrian over on the right hand side. Pretty hard to see him through the exhaust of the truck. He's not really wearing any super high vis clothing or anything either. But we saw him clear as day with the thermal camera, so that's pretty cool. So this next clip is pretty interesting, something that you'd never see normally. As you can see here, we cross the train tracks and there's something glowing on the ground. So that is actually a cigarette butt that somebody just threw out. You can see here kind of a freeze frame, just take it in, but like you see that clear as day. And the NV2 would do that as well. We'll switch to daytime now. Pretty hard to find it in the snow, but I do find it. And you can see it right there, sitting on the snow. So like you'd never see that. This is a quick clip. I thought that it was just kind of interesting. Like you can see the difference between somebody with a heated garage and not a heated garage. Or they just have their heat way lower in their garage than their neighbor. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. And that's like that super bright spot was a chimney or something. And now we're going to go back down the hill and head towards Walmart and try to find another pedestrian. It's like -30 outside, so not too many people around. One thing that anyone that's ever used thermal cameras will notice is there's not too many refreshes or stutters. It's actually very smooth, which is a big step up over the NV2. The NV2 would have like quite a bad frame stutter every 20 seconds or so, whereas this seems to be fairly seamless all the time. And overall just seems like a way better product than the NV2. I just switched it from thermal back to fusion to try and decide if I liked fusion at all or not. I think the only time fusion really has a one-up over thermal is when you're driving in like the middle of nowhere and it's hard to see, maybe super foggy, and you want to be able to like make out like road markings and stuff. With thermal, you're not going to make out the road markings, whereas fusion, you might. I'm not sure. But I find that fusion just really doesn't give you like the black and white highlight that you kind of want from the thermal. Like, if you look at this image right now, it's just like a big mess of stuff, and like you can make out details, but nothing really stands out. Like, you see the Jetta in front of me. Yeah, their exhaust is hot, but I don't really see any, like, pedestrians or significant heat signatures that I'd be looking for. Whereas when it's only on thermal, like, you're only seeing hot and cold. But we're gonna take a right at the stop sign. You can see these buildings are pretty hot. I also don't really like how on Fusion the overlay kind of jumps around. It's like the cameras are a little bit out of sync. But it is important to note that it's negative 30 degrees Celsius outside tonight when I was taking this footage, so things probably aren't working like they're supposed to be. You can see the pedestrian walking up there. He's kind of got like a shadow. So I think like I really don't recommend the Fusion. I would just stick to thermal personally, and with the app you can change the thermal type. They give like multiple different color schemes and options. I prefer white hot. Really quickly, it did pick up that person in like a split second for one frame, so it's really good. Like, I had to pause that frame just to show that the person was actually caught by the camera. So it did a really good job there. Fusion is not that great in my opinion, but it does add a bunch of context that you miss with thermal. Overall, I'd say it's like a substantially better product than the NV2. It's really good for the Indiegogo price. I don't know if it's really good for the full MSRP, and people do have problems with them, but so far it seems really good.